Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this: a patient sitting upright, anxious, breathing fast, struggling to push air out of the lungs. You hear a high-pitched wheeze. This is not just bronchospasm. This is a full inflammatory cascade happening inside the airway. To truly master asthma, you must visualize the pathophysiology step by step, because once you understand the mechanism, every symptom, every sign, and every treatment becomes logical. Asthma begins with airway hyperresponsiveness. The patient is genetically predisposed, often with a history of allergies, eczema, or allergic rhinitis. Their immune system is sensitized. During the first exposure to an allergen such as dust, pollen, or animal dander, the body produces immunoglobulin E antibodies. These IgE antibodies attach to mast cells in the bronchial mucosa. This stage is called sensitization. The patient may not show symptoms yet, but the airway is now primed like a loaded gun. Now comes re-exposure. The trigger enters the airway again and binds to IgE mast cells. This causes mast cell degranulation. Powerful mediators such as histamine, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, and cytokines are released. Remember the simple memory key ham for early asthma response? Histamine, airway constriction, mucus production. These mediators create the immediate or early phase reaction, which occurs within minutes. The first major effect is bronchial smooth muscle contraction, also called bronchospasm. The muscles wrapped around the bronchi tighten suddenly. This narrows the airway lumen and increases resistance to airflow. Asthma primarily affects expiration. During inhalation, negative pressure slightly opens the airway, but during exhalation, the airway naturally narrows. When bronchospasm is present, expiration becomes significantly impaired. This explains why patients with asthma struggle more to breathe out than to breathe in. The second major effect is airway inflammation. Blood vessels dilate and become permeable. Plasma leaks into surrounding tissue, causing mucosal edema. The airway wall becomes swollen and thickened. Eosinophils are recruited into the airway and release toxic proteins that damage the epithelial lining. The protective barrier of the airway becomes fragile and hypersensitive. This is why even cold air or mild irritants can trigger severe symptoms. A helpful memory word here is BEM: bronchospasm, edema, mucus. These three together define asthma pathophysiology. The third major component is mucus hypersecretion. Goblet cells and submucosal glands become enlarged due to chronic inflammation. They produce thick, sticky mucus that accumulates inside the narrowed airway. In severe cases, mucus plugs may form and completely obstruct smaller bronchioles. When air moves through partially blocked airways, it creates turbulent airflow, which produces the classic wheezing sound heard on auscultation. Now, let us connect this to air trapping. Because the airway is narrowed by muscle contraction, edema, and mucus, air cannot exit completely during expiration. Each breath leaves a small amount of trapped air behind. Over time, the lungs become hyperinflated. The diaphragm flattens and loses efficiency. The patient begins using accessory muscles of respiration, such as the sternocleidomastoid and intercostal muscles. This increases the work of breathing and leads to fatigue. As airflow obstruction worsens, ventilation becomes uneven. Some alveoli receive less air but continue to receive blood flow. This leads to ventilation-perfusion mismatch. Oxygen levels begin to fall, resulting in hypoxemia. In early stages, the patient compensates by breathing faster, which may cause low carbon dioxide levels and respiratory alkalosis. However, in severe or prolonged attacks, respiratory muscles tire. Carbon dioxide begins to accumulate. This leads to respiratory acidosis, which is a dangerous late sign. A rising carbon dioxide level in asthma is not improvement. It is a warning of impending respiratory failure. There is also a late-phase reaction in asthma that occurs several hours after exposure. Inflammatory cells such as eosinophils and T lymphocytes continue releasing cytokines, maintaining inflammation. This prolongs airway swelling and hyperresponsiveness even after the initial trigger is gone. That is why symptoms may persist or worsen hours later. In chronic uncontrolled asthma, repeated inflammation leads to airway remodeling. This includes thickening of the basement membrane, increased smooth muscle mass, collagen deposition, and permanent structural changes. Over time, airway obstruction becomes less reversible. This is why early use of anti-inflammatory therapy, such as inhaled corticosteroids, is critical. They do not just relieve symptoms, they prevent long-term structural damage. Now consider special situations. In exercise-induced asthma, rapid breathing causes airway cooling and drying, which triggers mast cell activation. In infection-triggered asthma, viral inflammation increases airway sensitivity. In occupational asthma, repeated exposure to chemicals causes chronic immune activation. In status asthmaticus, bronchospasm and obstruction are severe and do not respond to usual bronchodilators. This is a life-threatening emergency because persistent air trapping can lead to severe hypoxia, acidosis, and even cardiac arrest. Clinically, always remember the progression pattern. Wheezing and tachypnea appear first. Accessory muscle use and inability to complete sentences indicate worsening obstruction. A silent chest with minimal air movement is a critical emergency sign, meaning airflow is almost completely blocked. A final key tip for exams and clinical practice is to think of asthma as a TRIAD problem: tight muscles, thick lining, thick mucus. If you remember this triad, you will always understand the mechanism. Bronchodilators treat tight muscles. Corticosteroids treat thick, inflamed lining. Hydration and mucolytics support mucus clearance. When you visualize asthma pathophysiology as a cascade beginning with trigger exposure, followed by immune activation, bronchospasm, inflammation, mucus production, air trapping, gas exchange impairment, and possible remodeling, every symptom becomes logical. Wheezing is turbulent airflow. Shortness of breath is airflow limitation. Chest tightness is bronchospasm and hyperinflation. Hypoxia is ventilation-perfusion mismatch. Respiratory acidosis is late fatigue. Master the mechanism, and asthma will never confuse you again. Understanding the pathophysiology is the foundation for recognizing severity, preventing complications, and saving lives in clinical practice.